That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Rogue Agent, the directorial debut of Declan Lawn and Adam Patterson, which IFC Films is releasing August 12th, 2022.
Someone commented that the way you say the intro scares them every time. Oh. Like if we would consider lowering the volume. I'd recommend you lower the volume. If you do it every time, it's going to be loud. Anyway, the director of this movie?
It's co-directors Declan Lawn and Adam Patterson.
Good job, folks. I quite like this movie.
Debut.
It's a debut?
Narrative feature.
Oh, wow. Yes. Mm-hmm. We watch a lot of movies in this sort of category, and they usually disappoint.
You resisted me. You did not want to watch this film.
No, because I'm so accustomed to films like this being mediocre. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed this movie.
I did too. You tend to like the lead, Gemma Arterton.
I think she's beautiful, and yeah, she looks like if you mix Cindy Crawford and Helena Christensen.
Yeah.
Which is not the only reason I like her. I thought she did a fine job. And then I'm not super familiar with James
Norton.
Norton.
We saw him in, I think he was Amanda Seyfried's husband in Things Heard and Seen.
That's right.
Which I remember quite liking that film.
I liked him a lot in this movie.
He's also the lead in Agnieszka Holland's Mr. Jones, which is a film I also recommend.
So the IMDb synopsis for this movie tells the full movie. It's about a guy who's conning women by convincing them he's an MI5 agent. So like a spy for the British government. And of course he's conning them to get money from them. But ultimately one of the women he cons gets him hemmed up and thrown in jail. The end. But the story's riveting.
Yes, and it's told in a very sobering, uncluttered way that really nails the human component, which is what makes these fascinating in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this being a series.
There's a lot. Okay, so I had heard about this man that it's focused on before, Richard Freegard. There's apparently a Netflix documentary about him called The Puppet Master Hunting the Ultimate Con Man from earlier in 2022. I know there was a 2005 documentary as well in the UK, something on television. Because what's also fascinating is he received a life sentence in 2005. And because he got hemmed up in 2002, and then he was released in 2009.
That's right.
Because he won an appeal over the kidnapping charges. But
there's a lot to talk about, because even the charges that are brought against him, because at one point in the film it said like, oh, kidnapping is taking someone against their, like, by force or fraud. But then it gets complicated because, like, these women are kind of doing this in their own free will. But before we get that far ahead, so James plays a guy named Robert. And the opening of the film is him sort of like at the beginning of his conning days. And we see that there's some narration explaining what and how he did it. But we see him with these college students.
In 1993.
And he convinces them that he is an MI5 agent and that he needs their assistance in this covert operation involving like the IRA.
It was taking advantage of a certain time that's called the Troubles, which went from the... it ended in like 1998 between, the IRA in England and all the terrible things happening.
But he convinces these I think there are three of them, two ladies and a guy he just upends their life, like pulls them from school, has them go live somewhere else in hiding. We find out one of the women, one of those girls, he ultimately gets pregnant, has 2 kids with, and then all these years later has her in some little apartment with these 2 kids, scared for her life. And we hear from her and the guy how he's like ruined their lives basically. But so we get that intro, which I thought was very effective, how it's describing how he convinces people, like that he's trustworthy and that he's a spy. I thought that was very effective. Then we flash forward like 9 years and we see that he meets Sophie, Gemma's character.
Alice Archer is
Alice, character. Sorry. And
she's a litigation solicitor.
Yeah, she's like a high-powered attorney. She's a smart person who recognizes all of the red flags. But the first half of the film is really him convincing her of who he is. And he's always one step ahead of her.
Despite her better judgments.
Yes, because she is like, you think, how could you think this? She does. She questions it. She even has like a background check done on him by a private investigator who works for her law firm. And Robert has an answer for everything. But she gets to a point where she does her own sort of investigating and she realizes he is a damn lie. But really, it takes him stealing 120,000 pounds from her that really gets her amped up. And then she has a lot of free time because because of what he's done to her, she's distracted at work and she ultimately has to leave her job. So she has a lot of free time. She reaches out to a law enforcement agent.
Yeah, she convinces this cop, Sonny,
and
who kind of goes along with her, which, that could use a little finesse as well.
A little, but I still thought it was effective in how she convinces him because she's very aggressive with this man and he agrees and he sees what she's saying, but he's like, these cases are complicated. Like, we don't have proof. Like, so then the second half of the film is them trying to get proof, hunting down Robert because he's being elusive. There is one character who he convinces, this poor girl who he finds working in a hotel, and he puts a lot of effort into her, like doing this covert mission, and then says that they've been compromised.
No, she's from that original trio.
Sophie's from the original trio?
Yeah, is how this film... The film is collapsing a lot of women, is my understanding, based on this man.
Okay, that makes sense.
But in the realm of this film, yes. So he's kind of been fleecing her for a long time.
That actually makes sense, because I was a little confused why she keeps going with it, but because they have this long history.
Because Gemma goes and speaks to her parents, who gave Sophie her inheritance early, like 300,000 pounds. So instead, for her troubles, he drops her off in the middle of the woods somewhere.
Man, at one point he convinces her, like, in order, like, that she has an opportunity to be like an MI5 agent, but she has to do this test, and he drops her off like in an abandoned area, and it's not clear how much time she spends there, but she is like basically living under a bridge
for an indefinite period of time and being tested for a permanent position in the agency.
Oh, I felt so bad for her.
Yeah,
there's another American woman living in the UK who's, sort of like emotionally unstable, and he convinces her that she has a shot at getting a job with MI5, but she has to clear her student loan debt, which amounts to like $80,000. And he's telling her, like, you need to ask your parents for this money so I can clear your debt and then you can get the job. She calls her parents, and thankfully the parents are like, this does not sound right. This is not our daughter asking for this money. So they call the US Embassy, the FBI gets involved, and then that's when we see this FBI agent assisting Sophie and the British police officer to ultimately catch Robert. I thought that was very well done. Should I just go through my notes? My first thought was, I feel like this movie is a cautionary tale on how we should all be more thorough and like...
I think all of these tales are, though, because that's, it feels very familiar to something like the first season of Dirty John, or The Love Fraud, or, we've heard countless stories of kind of...
Like, do background checks on these people you're dating. It's not complicated. It costs like $30. Get online, ask for their ID, Google their name, look up criminal records, because, I mean, it's just...
But, the problem always comes to, crimes of the heart. We want to believe what is presented to us when we... are fascinated or kind of lusting for somebody.
So what's so appealing about Robert is he's a handsome guy in a very real world kind of way, but he also is very charming. Like, the way he speaks is very soothing and disarming, and he's that way with Alice. But then there's a point where she keeps questioning him because she says she got like his criminal record. And at one point, he switches up on her and he tells her, like, you know what I need to do? I need to sort out if I want to spend the rest of my life with a cynical, entitled bitch. And that was like, whoa.
I mean, that's, gaslighting 101, right? But...
Yeah, he's very good at, like, something that there's a portrait in Alice's house of like a tiger.
I referenced that too, yeah.
We see it like 4 times, and then the final time we see it, she like stabs it and like tears it apart, and then we go to another house and we see a big tiger. Did that have any significance?
I think those are visual motifs about predators and destroying predators, because she literally takes this picture down to tatters. But it's in such a prominent display in her beautiful apartment that it's like, do you like tiger? Or is it a leopard? Do you like large felines? Because I would have asked her, like, oh, why is this picture here?
The lady playing Sophie, I thought, did a really good job. We also thought she looked like if you mixed Jenny Slate and Britney Spears. But I felt so bad for that
Marisa Abela. Yeah, she was good.
I felt so bad for her.
And then the woman playing the mother of his children, Freya Mavor, she played the young Isabelle Huppert in a film called About Joan this year.
Oh, and then the little guy who he cons. He has a scene.
In the original trio, yeah.
He has a scene where he's explaining like how it just ruined his life and he's crying. I thought that was very good. Another good scene is the private investigator comes back to talk to Alice and she's saying like she wants to find him and get revenge. And the investigator's like, no. I was a cop for many years. There are only 3 types of people: mad, sad, and bad. And the way he explained it was so good. Like, leave it alone. But Alice is like, no, this man ruined my life. Like, but he didn't break me, so I'm gonna get his ass. I thought that was a very good scene. Robert has the same spiel with every woman.
Always makes spaghetti.
Always making that damn spaghetti bolognese with bolognese sauce. I thought that was
and
funny.
they're all like, oh, this is such good bolognese.
Because I had a roommate in college who was kind of a con artist, actually. I have stories about him.
/ Lothario, depending on what end of the stick you're...
Well, but he was a con artist. Because remember I told you several years ago,
Yes.
I got a call from like a Texas investigator about bad check writing. But anyway, like I saw him dating people and he would have the same sort of protocol with every person. Take them to the same restaurant, order flowers the next day, take them to the show, do all the same things. And it's like, yeah, people find like a thing that works, and it's
formula,
and it's creepy watching them execute it time and time again.
That's why we should always subvert the form. No formulas.
So I would say a weak point in the story is I think once Alice and the police officer go to the embassy, and then we meet the FBI lady. The black lady.
Edwina Findley.
I thought she was a little crunchy compared to everyone else.
She was,
with her Mary J. Blige 2002 No More Drama wig. But
I referenced that in my review as well. Yes, but that's period appropriate because it's the early 2000s.
It is period appropriate, yeah.
So it's okay that she looks like that.
That's true.
There's one scene where they've been out all night and you can see her wig's all wet too. So
well, she's standing out in the rain. Well, she could just put it in the dryer.
But she's a character actor. She's been in... she's been well utilized in other films like in Free Indeed, which is a film I highly recommend, or Ava DuVernay's Middle of Nowhere. So she's been around a minute, but
we see that Robert, in order to like scam all these people and stay under the radar, he's buying these burner phones, and he has like a little black book filled with all these phone numbers. Like, how many burner phones did he buy?
That's a lot. The setup has noir elements, I think, as well. And I kept thinking of the film Niagara, which is my favorite Marilyn Monroe film. Where
she looks so good in that movie.
She did, like, poppin'. But Robert takes Alice to this, it's like a lighthouse, but they have this singing bowl museum set up where he kind of transfixes her with his knowledge of culture. I found interesting because it's you can see that that's a moment where she's seeing him in a different light, and that's the moment she returns to when all is said and done.
Yeah.
In the parameters of this film. But
so the final showdown is Alice and the cop and the FBI person like go to the house where they know Robert is, and he's there with that American lady, and she's in really bad shape because she was on like mood stabilizers and he pulled her off of them, so she's sick. And Alice is like snooping around the house and bumps into him, which I thought was a really good scene. Like they both just like are right in front of each other, and he's surprised and she's looking at him, and it's just such a good example of how narcissistic he was, because he really told her like, let's leave together. I know why you're here. You really want to see if I really do love you. Like, let's.
Because that's what he told her.
Because that's what he told her. And he's like, let's get in the car, let's go. But then he sees the cop and the FBI person and he tries to run. But then Sophie, the girl, is in the police car and she sees that he's trying to escape. So she like jumps in the driver's seat, goes in reverse and blocks him, and he hits her.
Who he's unwittingly trained to be on her feet and survive.
Right.
Like
so it backfired on his ass. I thought that was a good scene because there was quite a bit of tension. Then we flash forward 2 years and we see him in court, and Alice is talking to the court, and of course she's an attorney, so she's very good at talking to the court as a witness. And then the I don't know how you call it in British court,
barrister.
but the whomever is asking her like, so are you still practicing as an attorney? And she goes, no, actually I started my own business leasing luxury automobiles to corporate clients, which was such a slap in the face because that was part of Robert's like sort of like fraud with her, is that he got her to invest in this company doing the exact same thing, and then he stole the $120,000 from her. So now she's flourishing, having started her own business that he conned her out of initially. I thought that was very satisfying. And then the film ends with Robert in jail, and then the damn prison guard comes in, and he's like, hey, I heard that you're like an MI5 agent. Is that true? And then you see Robert's eyes light up. And he's like, well, I can't talk about that and you can't either. So clearly he has the prison guard now roped into his little bullshit. And the prison guard says, if you need anything, let me know. So it's just like, you know, there are people who really like, it's in their DNA.
It's in their DNA because I think, what's the thing they keep saying in this, I think in Gemma Arterton's narration about how it's about being told the story we want to hear. To hook us, and you know, we also all have our vulnerable spots and things that we lack, and it's very much, you know, that Bill Paxton character in True Lies is what this man is doing, is people jump on board immediately because they want some excitement, they want something to look forward to, and this kind of scenario can provide that.
I also thought the film looked really nice. Like, it's shot well. There are a lot of locations, a lot of scenes, because when Robert meets Alice, he's working as like a car salesman, like selling luxury cars. So he has access to like a lot of nice cars, which I love. So we see him driving in nice cars. We get a scene where he's taking her around in a Ferrari. And so I mean, I think the film looks great.
It was shot by Larry Smith, who also shot Things Heard and Seen, starring James Norton, but also Only God Forgives, from Nicholas Winding Refn, and The Forgiven, which we reviewed just a couple weeks ago, starring Ms. Jessica Chastain, amongst many others.
Oh, we're there in Morocco? Mm-hmm. I thought that film looked nice too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else?
What would you give it?
I thought it was very good. I think I would give it 3.5 out of 5.
I would give it 3. I did really like it and was very pleasantly surprised.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.